Our last speaker this morning will be speaking on behalf of Senator John McCain, and that is former United States Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger. Secretary Eagleburger had a distinguished career in the Department of State, serving his nation in other capacities. But I have to say, personally, I think, Secretary Eagleburger, you are unique in that your contributions to our nation were at the highest levels. But do you remember when we met? It was about 4 years ago. You were coming into one of our rallies for the troops, and I introduced myself as the chairman of the local county Republican Party, and your reaction was, thank goodness I've been wanting to get involved with the local Republicans. I don't think you'll find anybody who's been involved and contributed at such a high level also showing an interest at such a local grassroots level. Please welcome Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger.
This thing?
I hate him.
I sit down, I'll fall asleep. I know for a fact that I am not particularly all the way up. All right. I am in the group that does not think much of my candidate, so I'm going to be very short on all of this. But I want to say, first of all, I have come from a group that has never believed Republicans should attack other Republicans. So I am not particularly happy in the way in which this primary is gone in a number of states. We're talking about the real problems of the other party, not ourselves. Anyway, I would also say to you, I probably have voted for more candidates for president than most people in this room, including Barry Goldwater. So if I have to be arguing about whether I'm a conservative or not, you're going to have to match that. And in fact, I resent the fact that that conservatives are defining other Republicans out of the conservative group. Most of us, I think, at one point or another are conservative, and I happen to think that applies to Senator McCain as well as the rest of us. And let me tell you why I think he's the man who should be president. And by the way, when I volunteered to do this, he had not yet won the New Hampshire primary, so everybody thought he was a hopeless candidate. Now where is he? I think I can relax in the sense that whether you like him or not, he's going to be the next candidate for president in our party. And I would suggest to you that if you don't like him, you better take a look at the alternative. One of the things that concerns me most is the fact that if you real conservatives either stay at home or one way or another don't support him, what you're doing is electing either the senator from Illinois or the senator from Massachusetts, from New York. I keep forgetting their name. But you better keep in mind that if John McCain becomes the Republican presidential candidate, you have that choice, or you have the choice of one of those two senators in the Democratic Party. And if you don't want McCain, what you're going to get is one of the two of those. And then what you're going to get is some of the things that I think you ought to be thinking about. Number one, and I think this is the most crucial issue of all, the troops will be out of Iraq so fast that the whole place will collapse, and we'll be in one hell of a mess internationally for years to come. Now keep that in mind. At least that's what I believe. And I believe I can say it with a certain degree of experience. Secondly, I can also say to you, I worked for Ronald Reagan personally, and I worked for the first George Bush personally, and I can tell you, if there's anything I know about the presidency, it is that it is probably the world's toughest job, and it takes real guts. Not just intelligence, it takes guts. Because you have to make decisions when nobody will agree with you, and when lots of people will pay the price for your decision. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have a man or woman in that office who can make those decisions, you're going to be in trouble. You remember Jimmy Carter? Couldn't make a decision. And I could name some others. But the fact of the matter is, there is one area where I know John McCain, and I know him personally, and I know if there's nothing else about him, he is a gutsy fellow, and he will do what he thinks is right. And if you don't think that's the case, I'm not going to play on his war record, other than to say to you, anybody that will willingly stay in a prison camp in North Vietnam Because if to leave would be to be a traitor to the rest of those POWs, that takes courage, and it takes guts, and that's where this man is coming from. Now, there are some issues you don't like on him, and I agree with that. One, the critical one, clearly, is immigration, where I think he's been wrong, and I told him so. He has come around at least to the point now of saying that if he's president, the first issue he'll deal with on immigration is you stop him at the border. And then from then on, we can argue about how you do it all. And I should say to you as well, because I've talked to him about this on the immigration issue, part of the reason he has been where he has is because of the humanitarian issues involved. Give me a sense, if you will, of what you do if you have a child born in the United States of two parents who are illegal immigrants. Do you kick the parents out and keep the child here? There are some questions involved in this immigration question that are going to have to be solved, and they're not all easy. And one place where I disagreed with Governor Romney was when he said there are 12 million illegal immigrants, and he said, kick them all out. Well, first of all, can you find them? 12 million of them? And if you find them, how do you get them out of here? 12 million is, you know, Adolf Hitler couldn't take care of that number. You have to remember something, we're a humanitarian country, so even on this issue, much as I think he's been wrong and much of what he said about it, it is not an easy issue to solve. The other issues that bother you, I know, first of all, getting 14, I would only say to you, if he hadn't stood where he did with those other 13 senators, we would not have gotten the two Supreme Court justices that we now have that are both clearly conservative. His actions with the other senators are what led to the ability to confirm those two Supreme Court justices. So if you want to blame him on that one, I think you're wrong. What are some of the other issues that you don't like him on? On McCain Feingold. By the way, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so it's Feingold, so I apologize for both of them. On that one, there's no question he was wrong. I'm not sure he'll ever admit it, but there's no question on that issue he's wrong. But again, I would remind you, that's not an issue that the President of the United States is going to have to deal with very often, but he was wrong on it, in my view. What else? Taxes. Taxes, now come on. Taxes baloney. Let me tell you why. He did not support the President's tax reduction program. I agree with it. But do you know why? Because they wouldn't cut the expenses as well. He said, I'll agree with a cut in taxes when you agree with a cut in expenditures, and they wouldn't. And that's why he didn't support the tax decrease. He has said now, however, that presidential tax reduction should be made permanent. So I don't know how you can argue with that one now, and I think he was right in a way, at least, when he tried to point out that if you don't cut the expenditures, you're not going to, tax increases or decreases don't make much difference. I would also say to you, just as a matter of character, which I think is terribly important in any president, he has never through, what's the term for the earmark? He has never once had an earmark, ever. And he has never taken federal government money for an election. Right now he's doing it all on contributions and his own money. He has never taken a penny in support for election campaigns. And he has made it clear in his recent speech to the conservative group in Washington that he will never, if he's president, approve a bill that has an earmark in it. I think if you get John McCain as president, earmarks are dead. They won't happen anymore. And what more can you ask for a president than that he closes that loophole fast?